Recording in progress.
Thirty seconds. Stand by in 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
Good morning and welcome to the June 22nd regular board meeting of the Pinellas County School Board, which I now call to order. The invocation this morning, I believe, will be done by, well, let me see first. Is Pastor Oliver King of the Restoration Ministries in Largo, is he present? All right, our invocation this morning will then be done by Ms. Pat Wright. It will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Vice Chairman Mrs. Long, and the National Anthem will be performed this morning by St. Petersburg High School Pitchforks under the direction of Choral Director David Lawhead. Please stand. And thank you for filling in, Mrs. Wright.
Be ye also ready. Shall we pray? Gracious Lord and Father, we thank you for our coming together today. We ask that we know that we've come together for the deliberations and considerations for the betterment of our children. We ask that you bless the work of our hands, the work of our hearts, that it may be done pleasingly and in your sight. A well done job. This is our prayer. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
For which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Good. Thank you again. And that was beautiful. I had not heard that rendition before. Very nice. All right. So we will now move to our video. And this summer, Pinellas County Schools is introducing a new summer bridge program. It's kickoff to kindergarten. Students will engage in a variety of activities aimed at preparing them for kindergarten and making sure they start their school year ready for success. Let's learn more about this program from the Early Childhood Education Specialist, Gail Ramsdale, and other members of the Early Learning Team.
So the Rising Kindergarten is an exciting new program that's available for children who will be entering kindergarten in the fall. It can be students who have already attended the VPK program during the school year, but it can also be for students who didn't attend the VPK program. So they'll be coming into a school setting for the very first time.
Say Kate. Kate.
We want children to attend the program for the opportunity to come on to a big elementary school campus. We'll be working on social emotional skills, so we'll be learning, how to make new friends, how to invite others to play, how to handle problem situations using our words. So it's all about the social emotional piece and helping children feel comfortable as they make this transition to kindergarten, as well as the academic pieces. So we'll be reading books and learning about the letters and the sounds that they make. We'll be working on early numeracy skills, counting, comparing sets. They will have experienced some of the routines that will happen on the first day of kindergarten, lining up, going out to the playground, going to the cafeteria. They will have already experienced some of those things so that they can really focus on having fun on that first day of kindergarten and feeling safe and comfortable.
So I'm really excited to be a part of a new program, to be able to give the children that are coming for the summer a little extra boost to get them ready for kindergarten.
Write 19 down on your paper.
So if we can incorporate fun into their learning, I think it's going to go with them into next year. So they'll be more excited, they'll be more curious, they'll be able to investigate a lot more things. Just that love of learning, hopefully we can get them now as they're young, and it'll continue as they're older.
So Rising Kindergarten is for any child that will be going into kindergarten next year, but we also have our summer VPK program, and that's specifically for children that did not attend VPK during the school year. And our summer program for VPK is much longer than the Rising Kindergarten program.
All right, so what's the first letter?
I'm super excited about the new VPK program that they're going to be doing this summer, because I know that kids need a foundation before they start kindergarten, and this is definitely going to give it to them. It's going to teach them lots of literacy, math skills that they need in the upcoming kindergarten year. They do a lot of assessments, and I think that this will help build upon everything that they need to know.
To find out more information about either of these programs, families can visit our website at www.pcsb.org.
Looks like a lot of exciting things are going on. All right, we'll now do the introduction of professional and community organization representatives with Isabella Mascarenas, our Public Information Officer. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Grego, and staff. It is my pleasure to introduce the following representatives of community and professional organizations. Joining us virtually this morning from the Pinellas Arts for a Complete Education Coalition is Victoria Hagedorn, the co-chair. There are no members of the media in attendance.
All right,
Thank you.
fine, thank you. All right, Dr. Grego, are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, I have a few amendments to the agenda. Under 7.3, as we prepare for the opening of the 21-22 school year, I posted these on the electronic agenda this past week, but recommending the assistant principal, Michelle Dugran-Rutt, that's currently at Lealman Innovation, to be transferred to the assistant principalship at Largo Middle School. Ms. Marty Giancola, principal at Richard O. Jacobson Technical High School, to take over the reins and responsibilities of the assistant director of ESSER. This is a position that this board and I went over extensively at our last workshop. And then Jonathan Marina, who's currently assistant principal at Largo High School, to take over the ranks and responsibilities of assistant principal at Lealman Innovation. Also under 7.5, recommending a cost center change, and that is a position of Lucas Hefty to be assigned as the mathematics supervisor, not for the district, but for the school of the Jamerson Magnet Schools in math and science, to have that cost center change. So Mr. Lucas Hefty will be assigned to that school.
All righty. As chairman, I find good cause to add item 7.3, the request approval of personnel recommendations, administrative appointments for 2021, 2022 school year, and 7.5 to request approval of the personnel recommendations of support services for the 2020, 2021, and 21-22 school year, as stated by Dr. Grego. I find good cause to add those. Board members, are there any items that need to be pulled? All right, then I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
I motion to adopt the agenda.
Okay, Mrs. Long? Second. And a song by Mrs. Edmond, a second by, you want to sing a song? A second by Ms. Edmonds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. And it passes 7-0. Thank you. All right, we'll now move down to presentations from the audience. Presentations from Synergistic Energy Stewardship Award. Dr. Grego?
Yes, Madam Chair and school board members, you know we have a long-term relationship with Synergistics and perhaps one of the more successful relationships in the United States. And I want to say publicly thank you to Mr. Herbeck and all of our principal leaders and all of our individuals who take energy conservation as such a major task in this district, but they're here to really present to this board. So let me turn it over to Mr. Herbeck and introduce our special guest that we have here with us today.
Thank you, Dr. Grego, Madam Chair, board members. And, it is. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, put it on again. Put it on again.
There we go. Sorry. Again, thank you, Dr. Grego and Madam Chair and board members. It is with pride that we have this award being shared with you today. I know we are very proud of the district of all the work we've done with Synergistic, not just with the energy savings, but with the positive impacts we've had on our schools. We're also very proud of the 3 Energy Star recognitions for Partner of the Year. But this award is special because it really recognizes the work that everybody has done, from our teachers, from our plant operators to our principals, the entire district. It really recognizes the efforts of everybody. And so with that, I trust that we'll be equally as proud of this award as we have been with all of our other work with Synergistic. But I would ask Regional Vice President for Synergistic, Steve Jones, to come to the podium.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Herbeck. Superintendent, Madam Chairwoman, ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you for having me here. This is, first I want to thank you for your public service. I was a public servant for 28 years before I retired from Montgomery, Alabama. Never went through a pandemic, so my hat is off to you. My brother teaches at Auburn. His wife is an elementary school teacher, and she said something to me one time. She said, I think if there's a good that comes out of this pandemic is that people understand that public education is not just a right, it is a privilege to be able to send your children into a classroom and get that education. So I like to publicly thank all the board members when I get a chance. This is one of the favorite things I do. I've been with the company about 5 years. I hired Synergistic when I was with the mayor's office in the city of Montgomery, looking to do exactly what y'all were looking to do, find some funding that attrition didn't take care of or other places, and it did everything that they said they were going to do when I hired them. And when I retired, it was almost like the hair club for men. It was not a hard decision for me to go to work for them because it is a company that stands by what they say. I'm going to introduce the energy specialist here, Cindy Bennett, Sam Harris, and Carlos Rodriguez. Jen Cumberbatch is not here. And I'm sure you're aware of the program as we hire full-time energy specialists, but we hire them locally. We don't bring somebody from Bayonne, New Jersey into Central South Florida to try to change behavior. We like to find those men and women that are in this area. Erica Johnston was an energy specialist here that has moved up because of her unbelievable talent and expertise with our company. She couldn't be here today, but we all thank you. As good stewards of your time, Dr. Gregory, you said something there that just resonates with me. Usually when I go and give awards, I have to read the accolades. Pinellas County, I know them by heart. I mean, this is the tip of the spear. When you said nationwide, we have probably 1,500 partners throughout the country, higher ed, K-12, municipalities. We always go back to Pinellas. Call Clint. If you don't believe what we do, call Mr. Herbeck. find out the things that they're doing. And what I'd like to applaud the district on that to me is special to me, it's not just the dollars. We're talking almost $40 million of cost avoidance since this program started in 2015. Some people may argue that cost avoidance is not real savings. I will argue against that. Had you not had the program and been as successful as you are, you would have paid that money to a utility company. It was able to be put back into your budget. No doubt about it in my mind. But the student involvement, what y'all have done here with getting, I saw this kindergarten video, which we've got a slide when we talk to other districts about what we do that says, just imagine 50,000 junior energy managers running around your school district, teaching these children at a young age what it is to be good stewards of the environment, what it is to be good stewards of the community. Y'all have led the way on that. There is no doubt. And then the financial, the environmental impact that you've done, and I've got a few numbers. I'm not a mathematician, so don't ask me how to extrapolate this into something else. But you have reduced your cost per square foot in 6.5 years, is that right? 6.5 years, Clint? By 35%. You've reduced your, and Florida's such a great state because you have to report what your energy spend is to the Department of Education. It's out there. Pinellas is leading the way. It's amazing. 108 Energy Star buildings. What Energy Star buildings means, it's not just the sticker on the refrigerator at Lowe's. It means that you're in the top 20 or 25? 20 percentile of all other like facilities in the country. And you have 108 of them. Energy Star Partner of the Year 3 times in a row. That's the Department of Energy pointing at Pinellas County and saying, you are the leader. You are the tip of the spear. And then the CO2 reduction. I'm 55 years old. When I was a kid, my parents had a car that was about the size of this room, and we just drive all over the Southeast and could care less about the carbon footprint. It just was not a thing. Today, that is a thing. Your CO2 reduction since this program started is over 208,000 metric tons. That's a number. What that actually means, if you extrapolate it out, it's the equivalent of planting 3.4 million trees for the next 10 years of what you're doing for the carbon footprint and sequestering that carbon. It is the equivalent of the exhaust that has been generated by an average car driving 510 million miles. You are doing great things for the environment. I know that the culture in Florida, with Clearwater, with St. Pete, it's just, you've embraced this, and we're proud to be partners with you, and extremely proud, Dr. Grego, that you let me come down and give you this award, because I promise you, I brag about Pinellas nonstop when I'm out talking to people, so thank you very much. I'm gonna leave this in the interest of social distancing. We have a plaque here. I think you've already got one. I've also got Clint knows we've got a banner that's coming that we can move around to different schools, because it's just not the administration that made this program what it is. It's the custodians, it's the facility men and women, it's the teachers. It's a group effort. So we wanted something that we just couldn't hang statically somewhere. We want something that we can take around.
Right.
So
I'm going to ask Mr. Herbeck to come down and receive that
Sure,
award from
please
you,
do.
because he's been the head cheerleader for this, and now that we can get closer together, we're going to do that. He's going to come out this door. There you go.
You got us here?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yes, this is a Vogue magazine shot.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right, we appreciate your time, and thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we have public comments on agenda items. Members of the public have 3 opportunities to address the board when we gather for our meetings. The first opportunity is to speak during public comments on agenda items. The next opportunity is when there's a public hearing, most of which are policies. And lastly, when the meeting is adjourned, we will remain for public participation when speakers may address items pertaining to the business of the district. During all opportunities, the public has been will give input. Board members are here to listen. This is not a time for discussion or debate. We will not take any formal action unless it is an agenda item. However, the board and the superintendent may clarify statements, refer speakers to the proper person for help throughout, or refer them to the proper staff person for help through their concerns. The board is committed to a standard of civility and decorum in conducting our meetings. Please assist us by maintaining a civil, constructive environment by confining your comments to the business of the district and refrain from profanity, intemperate, or rude comments. Thank you. Ms. Simonetti, do we have any speakers on agenda items?
Board members and Dr. Grego, we have one speaker today on specific agenda items. Mark Clutho will address consent number 7.21, 7.22, 7.24, 7.25, and 7.26.
Lutho Largo. Well, here I am at the lectern. This is not a podium. I didn't take a step to get up here. And when you don't know about the construction of this, you can't make any judgments about constructing a building. That's for certain. Now, the 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, all wrong. I just drove by Clearwater High School yesterday. The building is not oriented, the new construction, not oriented correctly. And you can't be Energy Star if you don't have the building oriented correctly. Off 90 degrees. Energy specialist, that's a farce. Energy conservation aren't the right words. It's energy efficiency. That is what you want. 721, students, your intern opportunities. Huge changes needed to keep nature, earth okay. Well, I had this article here giving aging buildings a green makeover. Now see, those internships aren't telling the students what you do here to cut the utility bills by 80%. And your new buildings should be doing even better than that. But that's not what you're doing. I mean, what I just heard here was all a bunch of lies, which you continue to constantly do. This is a big ripoff. That's what it is, a flagrant ripoff. I mean, you people just don't have any shame. You know, more than 2 decades here, this is getting way too old.
Thank you. And that's it, correct? All right. We have unfinished business. The public hearing to consider the amendments to policy 5500.01, our code of conduct. Parental responsibilities, 5500.05 in the code of conduct. Student attendance, 5500.07. Student code of conduct discipline, 5500.08. Code of Student Conduct Misconduct that requires specific consequences, 5500.09. Code of Student Conduct on the buses. This is the second reading. So do we have a motion?
I motion.
Okay, Ms. Long, do we have a second? All right, Mrs. Kane. Dr. Grego.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to, first of all, thank Leanne Eisen, who will be presenting this, also Dr. Hines, who really took the lead on this student code of conduct this year. And he's not here with us today, but I want to recognize Leanne Eisen, who is Director of Strategic Planning and Policy, who will briefly go through what this board has gone through over the last series of months, actually, in workshops and reviewing the changes and modifications of student code of conduct. This is all in preparation again. I know I sound a little bit like a broken record, but prepare for the printers and our 21-22 school year.
Good morning.
Good morning. Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Grego, staff, and community. Today we present the second reading of 5 policies within the Code of Student Conduct. As Dr. Grego said, the district team has presented these amendments during the April 20th board workshop, as well as the May 11th board meeting, and today we recommend approval of the following policy amendments. As we shared at the workshop and at the last meeting, Dr. Hines and the district team have engaged a variety of stakeholders representing districts, school-based staff, families, the Student Rights and Responsibilities Committee, the Pinellas County Council PTAs, and the Pinellas County Teachers Association for input and feedback on the Code of Conduct, and we do that annually. Simultaneously, the district team reviews the code in alignment with current statute, and the proposed amendments to the code are the result of both of those processes, the input and the review for statutory alignment. So, we are also intending to provide greater clarity to the language throughout the Code of Conduct. So, the summary of the amendments are for 5501, parental responsibility, to update the language to positively encourage parent engagement and clarify responsibilities based on feedback from the parent group. And since the first reading, per the board's discussion during the last meeting, we've also clarified the language around the responsibility and conduct of safety at the bus stop. For 5505, student attendance, we've clarified early sign-out procedures and completion of makeup work during a suspension, and updated the language to align with the driver's license related statute language. 5507, discipline, we've clarified the district's process for referring students to mental health services due to misconduct, including the addition of information on how to locate resources for mental health services. We've updated the definition of cell phones and electronic devices to reflect current technology. We've added appropriate use of electronic devices in schools, and in response to the board workshop discussion, we've clarified that any criminal penalties imposed for specific misconduct are done so under the authority of law enforcement agencies. And a change since the first reading, and to better align with Senate Bill 590, school safety, which we anticipate to be signed by the governor, is an update to include the definition of petty acts of misconduct and the expectation of law enforcement's involvement in such acts. In 5508, misconduct that requires specific consequences, we've reformatted that for better legibility and understanding. We've updated the statutory language on firearms, weapons, threats, false reports, and to reflect changes to Florida law. We added a section on computer crimes. We made the same clarification about mental health services and mental health service resources. And since the first reading, again in alignment with Senate Bill 590, we've specified that violent misdemeanors and felony criminal offenses will be reported to law enforcement. And in 5509, conduct on school buses, we've added information about how parents can sign up for transportation notifications. And we've added guidelines that allow students to carry roller skates, skateboards, and curriculum-required cutting instruments on buses as long as they're contained in the appropriate cases. Throughout, in addition to these substantive changes, we've also made modifications to reflect gender-neutral language throughout all of the Code of Conduct policies. But these are technical edits that don't require board approval, but we wanted to make sure that we are transparent and share that information with you. That concludes our presentation of the second reading and recommendation to approve the Code of Conduct policies.
Any board discussion? Okay, Dr. Carr?
Thank you.
There you go.
Nope, I'll do it.
There you go.
Guys.
You got it.
They're turning it, I'm turning it at the same time. I want to say thank you for the group's input and work on this, and express appreciation for collecting our input during board workshop, especially related to the clarity on which concerns or disciplinary infractions result the need to be reported to the police, and the additional inclusion of mental health resources with 211. So thank you very much for addressing those concerns, and I'm also grateful that the gender neutrality is reflected so that there's not bias within the enforcement of our Code of Student Conduct. So thank you very much for your time and for working so collaboratively with a variety of groups to gather input and amend things along this long process. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion or comments? All right. We have a motion by Mrs. Long, a second by Mrs. Kane.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
There are no
Oh,
speakers to the
thank
public
you,
hearing.
thank you. No speakers. All right. So now we will go on to the vote. We have a motion and a second already to consider amendments to policy 5500.01, 5500.05, 5500.07, 5500.08, and 5500.09. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. And it passes unanimously. Thank you. And we move on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion? Okay, Mr. Dudley, do we have a second?
I'll second.
And Mrs. Long seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. And it passes unanimously. Let's move to non-consent. Request approval of the State of Florida's voluntary pre-kindergarten education program statewide provider contract with the Early Learning Coalition of Florida, of Pinellas County. Do we have a motion?
I motion.
Mrs. Long, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Ms. Hine seconds it. Dr. Grego.
Yes, Madam Chair and school board members, I want to ask Gail Ramsdale to come up to the microphone and have a discussion on this. And the reason why we're pulling this and having this discussion, first of all, thank you very much to our communications department for making that video on the rising kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
This board has had a tremendous emphasis on the early childhood status of our community, and I want to say thank you. There's bits and pieces of it that are working just tremendously, and I don't want us to lose sight of that. Yesterday, and I want to thank Mike Feeney, Kevin Hendrick, and Teaching and Learning for really promoting the Rising Kindergarten program. We're one of, I don't know of another county that's doing this to the magnitude. We had over 1,100 Rising Kindergarten students come to first day of Summer Bridge program yesterday. So I don't want to get off topic, but I know this is an agreement with the Early Learning Coalition, but it's all a part of the emphasis on early learning, VPK, even beyond that. So thank you very much for your leadership, Gail, and we want to describe to the board this partnership with the Early Learning Coalition.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Grego, and staff. I'm happy to be here today to present for your approval our annual agreement between Pinellas County Schools and the Early Learning Coalition of Pinellas County. As you know, the district enters into this agreement with the coalition each year. The agreement permits us to offer voluntary pre-kindergarten, otherwise known as VPK, at our schools across the district, and also allows us to receive reimbursement from the coalition. While the agreement involves the same requirements as years past, I do want to highlight a couple of changes to our programming for next year. Next school year, the district will be supporting 25 elementary schools, so VPK students and families at these schools can attend a free full-day program. The VPK funding from the Early Learning Coalition, also known as the VPK voucher, will support students for the first half of the day, and the district will support students for the second half of the day. This free full-day program will create an incredible opportunity for families at 25 Title I elementary schools. The district also will continue to expand our VPK programming by adding an additional 40 new VPK classrooms across the district. 24 of those classrooms will be at the free full-day schools, and the other 16 classrooms will be housed at other elementary schools where we identified a need for expansion. As a district, we will go from 116 VPK classrooms this past school year to 156 VPK classrooms for next school year. These additional classrooms will create approximately 700 new VPK seats for children to learn and grow with Pinellas County Schools. I'd like to thank the board and Dr. Grego for your steadfast support of early childhood programs and for investing in the education of our youngest learners.
I want to thank the board for your investment and continued encouragement, because those numbers of going from 116 to 156 is a monumental task. So it is something, as we continue to grow and see the return on this investment, we'll see that for years to come. So thank you, Gail. Any comments from the board or questions?
I don't see any, so I would like to make a comment. We have all had long discussions about how it's so important for our students to be able to enter kindergarten ready. And so this is so important, and I'm thrilled that we're able to go this way, and thank you for your partnership on this. We know that these children that have high-quality pre-K will be students that will do well in kindergarten, and they'll do well in first grade and be able to move on. So thank you very much, and I'm pretty sure with head shaking that I'm speaking for the whole board when we say that. So thank you very much, and I look forward to passing this item. Any other comments? All right. So we have a request to approve the State of Florida Voluntary Pre-Kindergarten Education Program statewide provider contract with the Early Learning Coalition of Pinellas County. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no, and it passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we will now move to items introduced by the superintendent.
Yes, Madam Chair and school board members, last week we received the results of our third grade ELA scores and how we did. And I want to say first and foremost, thank you to everyone who produced in every elementary school well over 95% of our students who came in and tested. And I would love to see that comparison in the state, but I'm not sure it's going to be compared, but I'll certainly find out. I haven't found anybody of a higher percentage. So it is so important, as we stated in the very beginning, that we're going to use the FSA as a benchmark, as a starting point to ensure that we're going to be able to fill the gaps, the ELA, mathematics, science gaps that might have occurred. The thing we saw in third grade, and we'll continue to examine, I'll continue to report to the board, is that our students performed about as well as they did 2 years ago. So we had about a 1.6, 1.7% drop of that. I didn't know what to expect. Many districts was 4 and 5%. But let me warn us all that that also depends upon the percentage of students who are sitting and administering that assessment. Some districts were perhaps around 80, 85%, maybe 90%. So the key here as we come out of this pandemic is to ensure that all students are engaged in our assessments, and we the teachers and administration is able to springboard forward with that. As a result, we were able to leap forward into Summer Bridge. We have record numbers of the right students, so all students are the right students, but over 60% of the identified students that teaching and learning have said we really want these students in Summer Bridge because we see a potential learning loss. Those students are arriving, and they're there, which is the highest percentage of those identified students ever in the history of Summer Bridge, which I'm thrilled about. We have over just about 20,000 students. In the past, we've hovered around 15 or 16,000. So parents, I've seen, we visited every single elementary school, staff did yesterday. Parents are excited, students are excited. I think that everyone was really desiring to kind of get back to a different flavor. It's a lighter flavor, without a doubt, that it's a little bit more relaxed, but still a lot of learning is going on. Our Summer Bridge, as I mentioned, started yesterday, and where we had a debriefing meeting on Monday, and we ironed out a couple of things, but like Mr. Herbeck, back to him, we're feeding students in the morning, we're feeding them in the afternoon, As you know, you saw buses on the road yesterday. When I saw my first bus, I was alarmed, like, what are we, and I remembered that we're transporting students. We transported just under 5,000 students yesterday. I believe that we'll examine and learn a new way of doing business. We're using ESSER funds. We're using a lot of these funds as demonstrated from the full-time programs in VPK. We're needing to close that gap, and we're not going to wait to do that. We're going to be extremely aggressive to do it. So you'll continue to hear updates from me and from teaching and learning from the area superintendents on our Summer Bridge program. So it's somewhat shorter, as you know, but longer hours during the day. And our transformation zone is even longer. So I just want to say thank you to the commitment of our teachers, our administrators, for really taking on, after a difficult year, picking up and coming back and really doing a great job. I know Mrs. Long, I believe you were there, but also Tarpon Springs had an announcement made on June 12th, since the last time we've met, that they will be marching in the 2022 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. This parade is seen by over 50 million people worldwide. And each year the Macy's band committee looks for bands that have a stage presence and a musical expertise that captivate millions of viewers across the country and across the world. Tarpon Springs High School Outdoor Performance Ensemble was selected from more than 100 applicants as one of only nine selected bands that will be marching in the 96th edition of the annual holiday spectacular. And we want to thank and recognize the leadership of Kevin Ford and also Principal Lisa Fetalides. So thank you to all of the folks who came out. What a wonderful celebration that Saturday, the students, the parents. And think about it, they had their new band orientation that day. What an orientation if I'm a parent or a student coming in 9th grade and joining this band that in 2022 you'll be marching in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. I also want to recognize Kanisha Garcia of Lealman Innovation Academy, the principal who received the 2021 Principal Achievement Award for Outstanding Leadership for Pinellas County Schools. This award was established in 1988. The Principal Achievement Award for Outstanding Leadership recognizes exemplary principals for their contributions to the school and their community. It honors individuals who spearhead initiatives to increase student performance, promote safe learning environments, and establish partnerships with parents and community members. Principal Garcia has led Lealman Innovation Academy since 2016, and during that time she has spearheaded so many changes, positive changes in every sector of that school. She initially focused on teacher recruitment and teacher quality and has doubled this teaching staff in 3 years. She's embedded a school-based professional development system, has grown teachers from within the school building, and with the use of a tiered academic coaching support that she provides her teachers. So congratulations to Kanisha Garcia. I know you'll lend your congratulatory comments when you see her, but we're so proud of her, and we're proud of the vision that Lealman Innovation Academy had that we set forth when she took the principalship of that school. I want to also thank board members and the Pinellas Educational Foundation for recognizing the Commissioner's Business Awards that we just did last evening. The district business partner was the Pinellas County Schools, the medical team of doctors that you had the pleasure of meeting and talking with yesterday or last evening. The middle school and high school, the secondary business partner award went to Raytheon for their work at Azalea Middle School, and then the elementary school business partner, the Browns Backers of Pinellas. And people ask what those Browns Packers, that's the Cleveland Browns and their support of Nina Harris. So we're very appreciative of these folks represent the hundreds and hundreds of business partners that we cherish and we value across the district. But certainly thank you to Dr. Beyer for her recognition and taking time to have a live event face-to-face and person-to-person, and thank you for that recognition. I also want to share, I did share with the board, but I want to publicly share that our school district was invited. We were invited and called up to join the National Post-Secondary Strategy Institute National Network. This is a national team of networks that look at examine districts across the United States to see who are the leading districts for college and career readiness and what that post-secondary next step will be. And I'm thrilled that we were recruited, we called, filled out a very short, Leanna Eisen filled out a very short just bio application to this. And when they called us and recognized our progress that we're making, our college and career centers, with Naviance, with so many of these other initiatives, they didn't put us in the beginning class, but rather they catapulted us into the second tier of school districts across this country, with Denver and Everett and Fort Worth and Indianapolis, Michigan City Schools, New York, and many others that have been doing this work for several years. And when they caught on to what we're doing and how we're doing it with our college and career readiness, they not only invited us, but we're excited to be supported on the national front with our college and career readiness. I also want to say thank you to Sandy Hook Promise. This was an organization that this board went into partnership with prior to the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas tragedy. And I want to thank Donna Sicilian for her work and many of the other social workers throughout our school district. Sandy Hook Promise has been an exceptional partnership and has had tremendous results. Likewise, we're congratulated that we've had many SAVE clubs. That's the Students Against Violence Everywhere, SAVE. And we were recognized with 6 schools out of, I think, 36 schools throughout the nation. 6 of those 36 are Pinellas County schools. Lakeview Fundamental Elementary, Rollins Elementary, San Jose Elementary, Tarpon Springs Elementary, Safety Harbor Middle, and Hollins High School. The thing I like about this is that we cover all grade levels. It's not to say the others aren't doing anything, they are. These schools just won this award at all levels for Pinellas County. My last comment is one that doesn't affect us maybe immediately, but it certainly is nice to reflect on the talent that we have in our district. Those of you who are watching the Olympic trials will recognize that Trayvon Bromell from Gibbs High School won the 100-meter race the other evening, is qualified for the U.S. Olympic track and fields. He didn't only win it, but he had the second fastest time in the world of 9.80. He has the fastest time in the world in his possession of 9.77. So we look for great things from him, Trayvon, in the Olympics in Tokyo. So please watch out for him. And we're a proud graduate of Gibbs High School. The other proud graduate is Bobby Fink, who's a Countryside High School graduate. He won the men's 800-meter freestyle at the Olympic trials last Thursday night to earn him a spot at the with the United States Olympic team. This will be the first Olympic Games that include the 800-meter competition, and Bobby's certainly first appearance at the Olympics. So congratulations, not only to our present graduates, but to these graduates who continue to make us proud and continue to have a home in Pinellas County. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. All right. Do we have any items introduced by the school board attorney?
I have no report. Thank you.
All right. Fine. Thank you. Items introduced by board members. Are there any items, anything to be brought up? Mrs. Edmond?
I don't have any items to introduce. However, I just would like to recognize our students, our scholars that earned awards at the Dr. Carter G. Woodson Museum by participating in the Equal Justice Initiative's Essay and Art Contest in partnership with Pinellas Remembers. Also, last week was the Substitute of the Year celebration, and a fantastic turnout. So I'd like to thank staff for helping put that together, as well as our substitutes that we value. And I also wanted to highlight that June 17th, Juneteenth was announced as a federal holiday. So that in itself is something to be celebrating. And the rest of my comments regarding the FSBA conference, our club, and the joint PASCO Pinellas Community Alliance report, I'll discuss during our workshop.
All right. Good. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. So, Dr. Corbett, do we have any board requests?
No, Madam Chair, we do not.
Okay. Very good. All right. So our board evaluation will be done after we adjourn the meeting and hear from the public for their participation, and then we will do our evaluation. So with that, if there are no objections, this meeting is adjourned. All right, so Mrs. Simonetti, do we have any speakers?
Board members and Dr. Grego, we have 4 speakers today under general public comments. Our first speaker is Brant Robinson.
Welcome.
Hey, thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Grego and staff, my name's Brant Robinson, and I teach at Dunedin High School. I can't believe I'm about to go into my 25th year of teaching, but 24 of them wonderful experiences at Dunedin High School. So if you're like me, as we come out of this pandemic, there's a current of emotion that just seems to be right beneath the surface at all times. And for me today, that emotion is gratitude. So I just want to say thank you to all of you. I thank Kevin in the back, former colleague at Dunedin, Clint, you as well. I can't thank you all enough for everything you've done to help us through the pandemic. But today I'm here speaking as an individual about a topic, a subject I know you're going to hear a lot more about, critical race theory. Now, the first thing I want to say about critical race theory is that the origins of critical race theory go back to the 1970s. It's not history. It's simply a framework that began with some scholars and professors in the 1970s in which all they were doing was examining the impact of systemic racism, institutional racism on our legal system. Now, over the next several decades, critical racism expanded to examine other institutions, employment, the environment, education. But most importantly, critical race theory is not being taught here in Pinellas County. In fact, to my knowledge, it's not being taught anywhere in the United States. And it's important that we all be on the same page about that. I earned my master's degree in African American history. I teach the subject at Dunedin High School. I only just learned about critical race theory for the first time in late 2020. We're too busy as professional educators, as you know, just getting through all the material. We're not here to indoctrinate students. We're not here to teach our students to hate America. And so what I'm asking you all to do is consider a joint statement from Dr. Grego and members of the board, making it clear that we don't teach critical race theory. What we do is we teach our students to examine deeply the history of this country, because we're preparing citizens to be functional, wonderful citizens in a democracy. That's what we do. And so I hope you all will consider that. And as we come out of the pandemic, it's really essential that we remember that we ought to be honoring teachers and thanking them for everything we've done in the pandemic, not labeling and demonizing our profession. So I just want to say thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to next year, and I hope we'll continue in our partnership in dealing with issues, of course, like restorative practice and equity and culturally relevant teaching. You know, the real foundations of everything we do. So thank you all so much, and you all be well.
Welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. My name is Rob Sabursky. I'm a resident of Pinellas County living in Safety Harbor. And I'm here to support Brant Robinson. What he said was excellent. Everything Brant said should be taken to heart. But the reason I came was to present a potential ramification to this new law. And with that, I'd like you to take a moment, in keeping what Brant said, keeping it in mind, I'd like you to think about the time before the school year begins and this new law is applied. I'd like you to envision a Florida legislator seeking to ingratiate himself or herself with the base of a certain political party and perhaps a certain lobbyist, and in doing so, sponsoring a bill that results in enacting a penalty provision for violations of this law. Yes, a penalty provision. For any member of the school system, the provision provides for, number one, that the governor can remove the teacher or school system official without a hearing. Number two, that the teacher can be immediately fined up to $5,000. And number three, that the teacher can be exposed to an unlimited number of lawsuits up to $100,000 in attorney fees. Furthermore, the accused school system official cannot call upon a county attorney for counsel, and that the fines must be paid personally by the official. Chilling, isn't it? You may be thinking at this point, and I don't blame you, that what I'm saying is outrageous, that it can't happen. But with that, I'd like you to think about what happened with Florida's firearms preemption statute enacted in 1987 and the penalty provision enacted in the year 2011. With what occurred at Sandy Hook, at Stoneman High School in Parkland, I suspect that each of you are familiar with these penalty provisions because they can affect you. They can affect you if you feel there's a need to enact rules or regulations aimed at protecting students, teachers, and administrative staff from gun violence. I assume that you're aware that a lawsuit was filed challenging these penalty provisions. You may be aware of the fact that Leon County Circuit Court Judge Charles Dotson ruled these penalties unconstitutional, in what I consider a well-reasoned opinion. But an appeal was filed by Governor DeSantis, Attorney General Moody, and FDLE Commissioner Swearinger with Florida's first District Court of Appeal, and they appealed the second and third parts of the penalty provision, and that the first District Court of Appeals ruled in favor of the appellants. We're waiting now to see if the first District Court of Appeals will certify the matters in this case. Another sentence, going to continue or finish? Okay. We're waiting to see what's going to happen if it's going to be certified as a matter of public importance and allow the Florida Supreme Court to review it. But I just want to throw that up as something that you may want to consider. This is a law with ramifications, potential ramifications. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Katie Gatchell.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for the time and space to share some thoughts with you today around the fundamental lottery system. I'm coming to you, again, Katie Gatchell. I am a proud graduate of the Pinellas County School System many years ago. Not an Olympic athlete, but certainly successful in my terms. But more importantly, today I'm coming to you as the proud mother to twin girls, Reese and Addison Gatchell. We were thrilled to be informed on June 10th that Addison Gatchell had been invited to attend Pasadena Fundamental, which is a school I also attended. And in the same moment, we were baffled to find out that her twin sister would not be able to join her until at least next year with sibling priority, meaning that for a whole year, they would be separated through kindergarten. And hearing the emphasis today placed on kindergarten readiness, the efforts put in place, I assume that the algorithm in the lottery system either was flawed or had an oversight to allow this dilemma to occur. So one of the things I've been baffled with here is how is it that we don't have a way to use the unique identifier of home address to figure out how to logically group, whether they be twins or just in a similar type situation with foster children or step brothers and sisters, that we use that unique identifier of home address to group them logically. I completely understand there's a finite number of seats, so I'm not saying to expand the number of kindergarten students you can take, just put them in an order that sequentially, whereas my one daughter is in and my other daughter is number 40, doesn't logically make sense. So just a little bit about their situation. My girls are at Pasadena Community Church Preschool. They've been there for 3 years, finished VPK, and they have a very special bond, obviously, as twins. They started out as I call womb mates, and when they actually heard that this might be, something that could come to life, they said, "You mean Addison's going to kindergarten and I'm not?" And I said, "No, absolutely not. You're both going to kindergarten. I'm not going without my sister." So as a mom, I'm here today, and as I said, also a graduate of the Pinellas County Public School System. We do. Their father and I do have the means, and I know there's other viable alternatives. We could absolutely put them in private school, and we are fortunate enough to be able to do that. However, as a product of someone who went through magnet schools, Pasadena was not a fundamental when I went to school, but Bay Point Middle, I was in Megas. I was the salutatorian at Bogosiega High School under the Center for Wellness and Medical Professions. And I have a career starting my 18th year with PricewaterhouseCoopers. So we are here, as they say, to build trust in society and solve important problems, and I think this is one of them. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, if you don't mind, first of all, you're as important as the Olympic athletes, so thank you very much for doing that. But,
Thank you.
And congratulations on a successful career. The area superintendent for that school is not here, as I mentioned, but Mr. Vigu is there. Maybe you can get some facts and figures with this. I will look into this too.
And I have sent emails, so I know they're fresh, to Dr. Grego. Dr. Hines, I believe, is
Right.
the one over
Yeah,
Pasadena.
Dr. Hines
And
is
I've
the one.
spoken with Danita Moody, the principal, so she's aware. She did ask me to send her an email. I've done that. So I just wanted to come here today. It's
Thank
just
you.
yet another voice, because I know just solving my situation doesn't fix it, right? We got to get to the root, because I don't want other families to have this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you
We'll
both.
look into it. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Mr. Vigu, if you could raise your hand. Katie. Yeah. Thank you.
Our final speaker under public comment is Mark Clutho.
Mark Clutho, Largo. Here's the book, Energy Unbound. This was signed at the Energy Conference that was held in Tampa in 1992 by Amory Lovins, the keynote speaker there. For Mark Clutho, partner in creating America's future. He was one of the leaders of the White House, making the White House, the Pentagon, more energy efficient, and more recently, the Empire State Building, cutting the utility bill there by more than a third. Now, he signed it for Mark Clutho, partner in creating America's future. Prior to reading this book, I read his book, Soft Energy Paths, in 1977. And I've been studying the science of this important building technique, passive solar, which you continue to ignore. And what do we have now? We have these headlines, huge changes needed to keep nature, Earth okay. And more recently, here's one, a crisis at iconic Hoover Dam, nation's largest reservoir, sinking to lowest levels ever. And Earth's carbon dioxide levels at highest level in 4 million years. Now, this nonsense that I heard earlier about how wonderful you are and what a great job you're doing, you know, you're spitting into the wind. It's sheer nonsense. I mean, it's not even close to what they're doing, giving aging buildings a green makeover, cutting the utility bill in these old buildings by 80%. You aren't even coming close. A joke.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? All right, with that then, we will end the public participation. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. And make sure you catch with the person that raised their hand earlier with Mr. Vigu. All right, thank you.